The sky above Vetranine was the color of blood. Red clouds rolled across the horizon like waves of fire, and the ground shook every few minutes as another volcano somewhere on the planet woke up and screamed. The world was dying. Everyone knew it. The sun that had once given this planet life was now swelling, growing larger every day. And soon it would swallow everything. Lieutenant Taiho stood at the edge of the landing platform and watched the ships leave. Dozens of them, hundreds, ships from every species in the Galactic Coalition rose into that bleeding sky and disappeared into the safety of space. The Valori left first, their silver vessels cutting through the ash clouds like needles. Then the Manthari, their organic ships pulsing with bioluminescent light. The Kreks, the Sundari, the Hollow Ones, every species that had come to this world to fight a war that was now over. They were all leaving. And they were leaving fast. Final evacuation order confirmed, said Woojin, walking up behind Taiho with a tablet in his hands. He was the team's engineer, a thin man with tired eyes and grease permanently stuck under his fingernails. Coalition Command wants all personnel off-world within 6 hours. The solar event is accelerating faster than they predicted. Taiho nodded but did not move. He kept watching the ships. Sir? Woojin waited. Our shuttle is prepped. Hannah and Sora are already on board. I heard you. Then why are you still standing here? Taiho turned and looked at his engineer. They had served together for 4 years. 4 years of battles, evacuations, rescue missions, and long nights on ships that smelled like recycled air and old coffee. Woojin knew him well enough to recognize that look in his eyes. What did you see? Woojin asked quietly. A life sign. Taiho pulled out his own tablet and handed it over. 17 kilometers east. In the old bunker complex near the volcanic ridge. Woojin looked at the screen. His face changed. That's a Rockall signature. Yes, sir, the Rockall are... Woojin stopped. He did not finish the sentence because he did not need to. Everyone knew what the Rockall were. They were weapons. Living weapons created by the Coalition's geneticists during the darkest days of the war. Massive creatures, 12 meters tall, covered in armor that could stop plasma fire, with claws that could tear through ship hulls and biological acid that could melt through almost anything. They were monsters built for destruction. And now that the war was over, they were considered obsolete. Command classified them as abandoned assets, Woojin said carefully. They are not scheduled for evacuation. I know what Command said. They said leave them. Every species agreed. The Rockall are too dangerous to transport, too expensive to maintain, and too unstable to rehabilitate. Woojin handed the tablet back. Those are not my words, sir. Those are the official Coalition findings. Taiho took the tablet and looked at the single blinking dot on the screen. One life sign. One creature, trapped in a collapsed bunker on a dying world, waiting for the fire to come. It is still alive, Taiho said. For now, and we are just going to leave it there? Let it burn? Woojin was quiet for a long moment. The ground shook beneath their feet, and somewhere in the distance, a mountain exploded. Orange light painted the horizon. That is what Command ordered, Woojin finally said. That is what every other species is doing. Look around you, sir. No one is staying. The Valori did not stay. The Manthari did not stay. No one thinks the Rockall are worth saving. Taiho put the tablet in his pocket and started walking toward the shuttle. Then it is a good thing we are not like everyone else. The shuttle was small, barely large enough for a crew of 4 and some basic supplies. Hannah was inside, checking medical equipment with the focus of someone who had spent too many years patching up soldiers on battlefields. She was the team's medical officer, a woman with steady hands and a voice that could calm even the most panicked patient. Beside her sat Sora, the combat specialist. Sora was cleaning her rifle, not because it needed cleaning, but because it helped her think. Both women looked up when Taiho entered. "We're not leaving yet," he said. Hana raised an eyebrow. "The planet is literally falling apart." "I know. The sun is going to expand and burn everything within 3 cycles." "I know. So why are we not leaving?" Taiho showed them the tablet. Hana leaned forward and studied the screen. Her expression shifted from confusion to understanding to something softer. Something sad. "Oracle," she said quietly. "There is still one alive down there." Sora stopped cleaning her rifle. "Command said to leave them. Command is not here." "Sir, I have seen what those things can do." Sora's voice was hard. During the Battle of Nexus Point, a single Oracle killed 200 Coalition soldiers in less than an hour. They are not pets. They are not victims. They are weapons. Taiho sat down across from her. "Do you know why they killed those soldiers?" Sora did not answer. "Because their handlers ordered them to," Taiho continued. "Because they were designed to follow orders. They did not choose to fight. They did not choose to kill. They were created, trained, deployed, and now abandoned. Every choice was made for them." He paused. "And now they get to die alone on a burning planet because we decided they are too inconvenient to save." The shuttle was quiet. Outside, another ship lifted off and vanished into the red sky. Hana spoke first. "The Rockle are not mindless. I have read the classified neural studies. They have intelligence, emotions. They can feel fear and pain and loneliness. The Coalition just never wanted to admit it because it made the whole program harder to justify." "They are still dangerous," Sora said, but her voice had lost some of its edge. "So are we," Taiho replied. "Every human in this shuttle has killed. Does that mean we deserve to burn?" No one answered. Taiho stood up and moved toward the cockpit. "I am not ordering anyone to come with me. This is not a mission. Command will probably court-martial me for this. But I am going to that bunker, and I am going to see if that creature can be saved." He looked back at his team. "You can stay with the shuttle. You can leave. I will not blame you." Wujin was the first to stand. "You will need an engineer. That bunker collapsed. Someone has to move the debris." Hana closed her medical kit and picked it up. "And someone has to treat its wounds. Rockle biology is complex, but I have studied it." Sora sighed, stood up, and slung her rifle over her shoulder. "And someone has to keep you idiots alive when everything goes wrong." She shook her head. "I cannot believe we are doing this." Taiho smiled. It was small, tired, but real. "Thank you." The shuttle lifted off and turned east, flying low over a landscape of fire and ash. Behind them, the last Coalition ships disappeared into the void, leaving the dying world to its fate. But 4 humans remained. 4 humans flew into the fire. The shuttle flew through a storm of ash and heat. Warning lights flashed on the control panel as the temperature outside climbed higher and higher. Wujin sat in the pilot's seat, his hands tight on the controls, fighting against wind that seemed determined to throw them into the nearest volcano. "Visibility is almost 0, he reported. "I am flying on sensors only." Taiho stood behind him, watching the screen that showed their path. Red zones everywhere. Danger everywhere. The ground below was cracked and broken, with rivers of lava flowing through the wounds in the earth. Smoke rose in thick columns that blocked out what little light remained. "How much further?" Taiho asked. 8 kilometers. Maybe 10 minutes if we do not crash." Behind them, Hana was preparing medical supplies. She had pulled out everything she might need for treating a Rockle. Burn gel, antibiotics designed for alien biology, bone sealant, pain suppressors strong enough to knock out a creature 10 times her size. She worked quickly, her hands moving from one item to the next without hesitation. Sora sat beside her, checking her weapons. Not just a rifle, but also a sidearm, 2 knives, and a set of flash grenades. She saw Hannah looking at her and shrugged. "I hope I do not need them," Sora said. "But I have seen too many situations go bad to go in unprepared." "The Rockle will be scared," Hannah replied. "If we go in with weapons raised, we will only make it worse. And if it attacks us, then we deal with it. But we try words first. We try kindness first." Sora made a small sound that might have been a laugh. Kindness. Against a 12-meter war beast. "It has probably never experienced kindness," Hannah said quietly. "That is exactly why we should try." The shuttle shook violently as they passed through another pocket of turbulence. Woojin cursed under his breath and adjusted their course. The bunker complex appeared on the sensors, a cluster of structures half buried under rock and ash. Most of the buildings had collapsed. Only one section remained partially intact, and that was where the life sign was coming from. "I cannot land inside the complex," Woojin said. "Too much debris. I will put us down 300 meters east. We walk from there. In this?" Sora gestured at the chaos outside the windows. "Our suits will protect us for a while. 2 hours, maybe 3, before the heat breaks through the shielding." "Then we have 2 hours, Taiho said. "Let us not waste them." The shuttle touched down on a patch of ground that was more stable than the rest. The team moved quickly, sealing their environmental suits and checking their equipment. Hannah carried the medical supplies in a pack on her back. Woojin had his engineering tools. Sora had her weapons. Taiho carried only a tablet showing the location of the life sign. When the shuttle door opened, the heat hit them like a wall. Even through their suits, they could feel it pressing against them, trying to get in. The air was thick with smoke and ash, and the ground beneath their boots was warm, almost hot. "Stay close," Taiho ordered. "Watch your footing." The ground could give way at any moment. They moved forward in a line, picking their way through the debris. Collapsed buildings rose around them like the bones of dead giants. Metal beams twisted by heat. Concrete walls cracked and crumbling. Everything was covered in a layer of gray ash that made the world look like it had already died. Hannah talked as they walked, partly to share information and partly to keep her mind off the danger around them. "The Rockle were created 40 years ago," she said through the communication system in her helmet. "The Coalition was losing the war. They needed something powerful enough to turn the tide. So they built them. Took DNA from the most dangerous predators in the galaxy, combined it with genetic enhancements, and created living weapons." "I know the history," Sora said. "But do you know how they trained them?" Hannah continued. "They used pain, fear, punishment. The Rockle were taught to obey through suffering. Every handler they ever had to use force to control them. How else do you control something that powerful? You do not have to control it. You can work with it. You can build trust." Hannah stepped over a fallen beam. Studies showed that Rockle respond to positive reinforcement. They form attachments. They want to bond with their handlers. But the Coalition never pursued that approach because it took too long. It was easier to just hurt them until they obeyed. Sora was quiet for a moment. That does not make what they did any less terrible. The things they destroyed, the people they killed. No, it does not, Hannah agreed. But it explains why. And it tells us that maybe, with time and care, they can be something more than weapons. The bunker entrance appeared through the smoke. A massive doorway, half blocked by fallen debris. Beyond it, darkness. The life sign on Taiho's tablet was stronger now, closer. "It is inside," Taiho said. "Maybe 200 meters deep." Woojin examined the debris blocking the entrance. "I can clear enough for us to get through. Give me 10 minutes. While Woojin worked, Taiho stood at the edge of the darkness and listened. The bunker was quiet, but not completely silent. He could hear something, a sound like breathing, deep and slow. And beneath that, another sound. Something softer. Something that almost sounded like crying. Do you hear that? He asked. Sora moved closer, her hand resting on her weapon. I hear it. It sounds scared, Hana finished. She had moved up beside them, her eyes fixed on the darkness. It sounds scared. The debris shifted as Woojin cleared a path. Rocks tumbled away. Metal groaned and fell. Finally, an opening appeared, just large enough for a person to squeeze through. I will go first, Taiho said. Sir, maybe I should. Sora started. No. If it sees weapons first, it might panic. I go first, alone, just to see. He did not wait for arguments. He squeezed through the opening and entered the bunker. The darkness swallowed him almost immediately. He activated the light on his suit and moved forward, following the sounds. The bunker had been a staging area during the war. Rooms for soldiers, storage for supplies, command centers for coordinating battles. Now it was a ruin. The ceiling had partially collapsed and debris covered everything. But there was a path, narrow and winding, that led deeper inside. Taiho followed it. The sound grew louder as he walked. That deep breathing. That soft, sad sound underneath. He turned a corner and stopped. There it was. The rockle was massive. Even lying down, half buried under rubble, it was larger than anything Taiho had ever seen. Its body was covered in dark gray armor plating, cracked and burned in places. 6 eyes, arranged in 2 rows of 3, reflected the light from his suit. Long limbs, ending in claws as long as his arm, were pinned beneath fallen concrete. A tail, thick and powerful, lay still behind it, and those 6 eyes were looking at him. Not with anger, not with hunger, with fear. The creature made that sound again, that soft, broken sound, and Taiho understood. It was not crying. It was whimpering. This massive, powerful beast, created to destroy armies, was lying in the dark, wounded and trapped, whimpering like a child. Taiho lowered himself slowly, making his body smaller. He held out his hands, showing they were empty. Hey, he said softly. It is okay. I am not going to hurt you. The rockle watched him. It did not move. It did not attack. It just watched, those 6 eyes filled with a fear that broke Taiho's heart. I am here to help, he continued. I know you do not understand me. I know you have no reason to trust me. But I am not leaving you here. I am not leaving you alone. The creature made another sound. Quieter this time. Almost like a question. Taiho smiled, even though the rockle could not see it through his helmet. Yeah, he said. We are the crazy ones who came back. The others came through one by one. Hana first, then Woojin, and finally Sora with her weapon lowered but ready. They stood in the darkness of the collapsed bunker and looked at the creature trapped before them. No one spoke for a long moment. The rockle watched them. Its 6 eyes moved from one human to the next, studying them with an intelligence that was impossible to ignore. Every time someone moved too quickly, the creature tensed. Every time someone spoke too loudly, it pulled back as much as the rubble would allow. It was waiting for pain, waiting for punishment. Hana moved first. She walked forward slowly, each step careful and deliberate. She kept her hands visible at all times. Easy, she said softly. Easy, I am a doctor. I am here to help. The rockle made a low rumbling sound. Not aggressive, more like a warning. A warning that it was scared and did not want to be hurt again. Hana stopped and lowered herself to the ground, making herself as small as possible. I know you are scared. But look at me. I am tiny compared to you. I could not hurt you even if I wanted to. She reached into her medical pack slowly. I am going to help you, okay? Just let me help. She pulled out a scanner and held it up. The device made a soft beeping sound as it analyzed the creature's condition. The results appeared on the small screen, and Hana's face grew serious. Multiple fractures in the left forelimb, she reported. Deep burns across the chest and back, probably from plasma fire. Several infected wounds that looked like they came from restraint collars. She looked up at the creature's eyes. They kept you chained, did they not? Chained and controlled. The Rockle made that whimpering sound again. Not anymore, Hana said. No more chains. I promise. She began to work. The burns were treated first with gel that cooled the damaged tissue and started the healing process. The creature flinched when she first touched it, but then went still, watching her with something like wonder. Like it could not understand why she was being gentle. Wu Jin examined the debris pinning the Rockle down. I can move this, but it will take time. Some of these beams are load-bearing. If I shift the wrong one, the whole ceiling could come down. Then be careful, Taiho said. Sir, I am always careful. Wu Jin got to work. He used his tools to cut through smaller pieces of debris, slowly creating space around the creature's trapped limbs. It was slow, precise work. One wrong move could mean disaster. While they worked, Sora stood guard at the entrance of the chamber. She watched the darkness beyond, listening for any sign of danger. The planet continued to shake around them, tremors that grew stronger with each passing hour. Time was running out. Coalition Command is trying to reach us, Sora reported. They want to know why we are still on the surface. Tell them we are conducting a rescue operation, Taiho said. They will not accept that. The Rockle are classified as abandoned assets. There is no rescue protocol for them. Then do not tell them what we are rescuing. Sora almost smiled. Understood, sir. Hours passed. The work continued. Hana treated wound after wound, talking softly to the creature the entire time. She told it about Earth, about blue skies and green forests and oceans that stretched to the horizon. She told it about her home, a small town where everyone knew everyone else and people sat on their porches in the evening to watch the sunset. She did not know if the Rockle understood a single word, but it seemed to calm the creature. Its breathing slowed. Its eyes stopped darting around with fear. At some point, Hana started humming. An old song her mother used to sing, a lullaby about stars and dreams and peaceful nights. The Rockle listened. And then, slowly, it began to hum too. A deep vibrating sound that filled the chamber. It was not the same song. The creature was just trying to copy her, trying to make the same kind of sound. But there was something beautiful about it. Something that made everyone stop and listen. Did it just... Wu Jin started. Yes, Hana said, and her voice was thick with emotion. It is trying to sing with me. Taiho watched the creature. He had fought in wars. He had seen terrible things. He had killed and watched friends die, and wondered sometimes if there was any goodness left in the galaxy. But here, in this collapsed bunker on a dying world, he was watching a monster learn to sing. We have to save it, he said quietly. Whatever it takes. A new transmission came through. This one was different. It came on a priority channel, directly from the Coalition Fleet Commander. Admiral Yohan. Taiho accepted the transmission. The Admiral's voice filled his helmet, cold and controlled. Lieutenant, I have been monitoring your situation. You are attempting to rescue a Rockle. Yes, Admiral. Do you understand that this action violates direct orders from Coalition High Command? I understand. Do you understand that the Rockle are considered dangerous, unstable, and unfit for rehabilitation? I have heard those words, Admiral. But I have spent the last 3 hours watching this creature. It is not a monster. It is a living being that was created to fight, used until it was no longer useful, and then thrown away to die. Tai-Ho paused. I cannot accept that. There was silence on the other end of the transmission. A long, heavy silence. Then Admiral Johann spoke again. Why are you doing this, Lieutenant? Be honest with me. Tai-Ho looked at the Rockle. At Hannah, still treating its wounds. At Wujin, carefully moving debris to free its limbs. At Sora, standing guard despite her earlier doubts. Because no one else would, Tai-Ho said. Because every other ship left. Every other species looked at this creature and saw something disposable. Something not worth saving. He took a breath. Humans are not special, Admiral. We are not stronger or smarter or more advanced than anyone else in this coalition. But maybe we are stubborn. Maybe we look at something dying and alone, and we cannot just walk away. Another silence. Longer this time. You have 9 hours before the solar event makes extraction impossible, Admiral Johann finally said. I will keep a channel open. If you actually manage to get that creature out of there, contact me. Admiral? Do not make me regret this, Lieutenant. The transmission ended. Wujin laughed softly. Did the fleet commander just give us permission to continue? I think he gave us a chance, Tai-Ho replied. Let us not waste it. The work continued. Hour after hour. The Rockle grew calmer with each passing minute. It stopped flinching when Hannah touched it. It watched Wujin work with something like curiosity. It even allowed Sora to approach, though it kept a careful eye on her weapon. Finally, as the 6th hour approached, Wujin stepped back and wiped sweat from his forehead. Done, he said. The debris is clear. It should be able to move. Everyone looked at the Rockle. The creature looked back at them. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the Rockle moved. It pulled its limbs free from the rubble. It pushed itself up, rising higher and higher until its head nearly touched the damaged ceiling. Standing, it was enormous, terrifying, a weapon made flesh, but it did not attack. It did not run. It looked down at Hana, at the small human who had spent hours treating its wounds and singing to it in the dark, and it made that humming sound again. That soft, deep sound that was almost like a song. Hana smiled up at it. I think I will call you Barum, she said. It means wind, because of that sound you make when you are happy. The creature Barum tilted its massive head. Then it leaned down slowly, carefully, and pressed its armored forehead against Hana's outstretched hand. Tai-Ho watched, and for the first time in a very long time, he felt hope. Getting Barum out of the bunker was only the beginning. The real challenge waited outside. The planet had grown worse in the hours they spent underground. The sky was no longer red. It was white, blinding white, as if the sun itself had descended to burn everything. The ground cracked and split in a dozen new places, and rivers of lava flowed where solid rock had been just hours before. The air was so thick with ash that visibility dropped to almost nothing. Tai-Ho stood at the bunker entrance and looked at the destruction. Their shuttle was 300 meters away. To reach it, they would have to cross terrain that was actively trying to kill them. The shuttle cannot handle a creature that size, Wujin said, stating the obvious. Even if we make it there, we have no way to get Barum off the planet. One problem at a time, Tai-Ho replied. First, we reach the shuttle. Then, we figure out the rest. Barum emerged from the bunker slowly, ducking low to fit through the damaged entrance. The creature stopped when it saw the destruction outside. Those 6 eyes scanned the burning landscape, and Tai-Ho could see understanding in them. Barum knew what was happening. It knew the planet was dying. Hana walked up beside the creature and placed a hand on its leg. Stay close to us, she said. We will find a way. They began to move. The humans walked in a line with Barum following behind, its massive body surprisingly quiet despite its size. The creature moved carefully, placing each step with precision to avoid unstable ground. The first problem came within minutes. The ground ahead shifted suddenly, opening a gap that had not existed moments before. Woojin, who was leading the group, stumbled and fell. His leg slipped into the crack, wedging tight between two rocks as the gap continued to widen. "Help!" Woojin shouted. "I am stuck." Taiho and Sora rushed forward, but they could not get close enough. The ground around the crack was crumbling, falling away piece by piece. If they stepped on it, they would fall too. Then Baram moved. The creature pushed past the humans with surprising gentleness. It extended one of its massive limbs, reaching across the unstable ground with claws that could tear through metal. Those claws closed around Woojin's body, not to hurt him, but to hold him, with a single motion. Baram lifted Woojin out of the crack and set him down on stable ground behind the group. Everyone stared. Woojin looked down at himself, checking for injuries. There were none. The creature had been incredibly careful, gentle, even. "Thank you," he said, looking up at Baram. The rackle made a soft sound, that humming noise that Hana had learned to recognize as contentment. They continued moving. The terrain grew worse with every step. Volcanic vents opened without warning, shooting jets of superheated gas into the air. The ground tilted and shifted as the planet's core destabilized. Ash fell like snow, covering everything in gray. Sora's suit sensors began to alarm. "Temperature is rising. Our suits will not last much longer. How much time do we have?" Taiho asked. "Maybe 40 minutes? Maybe less." They pushed forward faster. But the faster they moved, the more dangerous the journey became. Another crack opened ahead of them, this one too wide to jump across. Taiho looked at the gap. It was at least 5 meters wide, with lava glowing at the bottom. There was no way around it. The edges extended in both directions, as far as he could see. "We are trapped," Sora said. Baram moved forward. The creature studied the gap for a moment, those 6 eyes measuring the distance. Then it did something unexpected. It lay down. Baram stretched its massive body across the gap, creating a bridge of armor and flesh. Its head rested on one side. Its tail extended to the other. The creature looked at the humans and made a low rumbling sound. "It wants us to cross," Hana said quietly. "It is making itself into a bridge." Taiho did not hesitate. He climbed onto Baram's body and walked across. The creature's armor was warm beneath his feet, but stable, solid. Woojin followed, then Sora. Hana went last. She stopped at the center, right above Baram's heart, and knelt down. "You are incredible," she whispered. "You know that?" Baram hummed. Hana crossed to the other side, and the creature rose again. They continued forward. The shuttle appeared through the ash like a ghost, small and fragile compared to everything around it. Woojin ran ahead to prepare the engines while the others caught up. "We have power," Woojin reported through the communication system. "But I was not joking earlier. This shuttle cannot carry Baram. We barely have room for the 4 of us." Taiho looked at the creature. Baram had stopped a few meters from the shuttle, watching them with those intelligent eyes. The Rockle knew. It understood that it was too large, too heavy. It understood that the humans could save themselves and leave. "No," Taiho said. "We did not come this far to give up now." He opened a channel to Admiral Johan. "Admiral, this is Lieutenant Taiho. We have the Rockle. We are at the extraction point, but we have no transport large enough to carry it." Static filled the line. Then the Admiral's voice, strained and tense. "Lieutenant, the solar event is accelerating. You have less than 30 minutes before the first wave hits. There is no time to, Admiral, please." Silence. Taiho watched the sky. The white light was growing brighter, He could feel the heat pressing against his suit, trying to get in. They were running out of time. Then the Admiral spoke again. "I have been watching your telemetry, Lieutenant. I saw what that creature did. It freed your engineer from a ground collapse. It used its own body as a bridge to get your team across a fissure." "Yes, yes, Admiral, it protected you." The Admiral's voice was different now, softer. A weapon created to destroy. And it chose to protect. "Because we showed it kindness," Taiho said. "Because maybe that is all it ever needed." Another long silence. Then a new sound came through the communication system. Ship engines. Big ones. Taiho looked up and saw it descending through the ash clouds. A coalition heavy transport. One of the largest vessels in the fleet, capable of carrying cargo that weighed hundreds of tons. It bore the insignia of Admiral Johan's personal command. "I am sending a ship," the Admiral said. "Cargo bay is cleared. Get that creature on board and get off that planet." "Admiral, I do not know how to." "You have done impossible things all day, Lieutenant." "Do one more." The transport landed 50 meters away. Its cargo bay doors opened, revealing a space large enough for Barum to fit inside. But the creature did not move. It stood frozen, watching the ship with fear in its eyes. Hana understood. "It is scared of ships," she said. "Ships mean deployment, fighting, pain." She walked toward Barum. The creature lowered its head, and she placed both hands against its armored face. "This is different," she said. "This ship is not taking you to fight. This ship is taking you home. Do you understand? Home. Somewhere safe. Somewhere you will never be hurt again," Barum whimpered. "I know you are scared, but I need you to trust me. Can you do that? Can you trust me?" The creature looked at her for a long moment. Then it looked at the other humans. At Taiho, who had come back when everyone else left. At Wujin, who had worked for hours to free it. At Sora, who had stood guard even though she was afraid. Slowly Barum began to move. One step, then another. It walked toward the transport, head low, body tense. But it kept moving. It stepped into the cargo bay and lay down. The doors began to close. Taiho ran toward the small shuttle. "Everyone, move! Now!" They piled into the shuttle just as the ground beneath them started to crack. Wujin launched them into the air, flying toward the transport as the world below began to tear itself apart. They docked just as the first solar wave hit. The planet screamed. Fire consumed everything. Rock melted. Mountains collapsed. In seconds, Vethra 9 went from a dying world to a dead one. But in the cargo bay of a coalition transport, a creature that had been created for war lay quietly. And around it, 4 humans sat in exhausted silence, watching through a small window as the fire raged outside. They had made it. Against everything, they had made it. The news spread across the galaxy like fire. 4 humans. 1 abandoned war beast. A dying planet. Against direct orders, against all logic, against every instinct that told them to run. They had walked into the flames and come out with something precious. Something impossible. The footage started appearing on every network within hours. Ships from dozens of species had recorded the evacuation of Vethra 9. Their sensors had tracked the small human shuttle flying toward the bunker complex while everyone else fled. They had watched the heavy transport descend at the last possible moment. They had witnessed the escape as the planet burned, and they had seen what the Rockle did. The recordings were clear. A massive creature, built for destruction, using its body to shield humans from danger. A weapon of war, gently lifting a trapped engineer to safety. A monster that learned to sing because a human medic hummed a lullaby. The galaxy did not know what to do with these images. Some species called it foolish. The Valori ambassador released a statement. describing the rescue as an irrational waste of resources driven by primitive emotional responses. The Monthari High Council questioned whether humans understood the concept of acceptable losses. Several coalition members suggested that humanity's judgment could not be trusted if they were willing to risk 4 lives for a single obsolete asset. But others watched the footage and felt something different. Younger generations, who had grown up with stories of the Rockle as nightmares, saw a creature curled up in a cargo bay, pressing its massive head against a human woman's hands. They saw fear replaced by trust. They saw a monster become something else. Messages began arriving at Earth's government offices. At first just a few, then dozens, then hundreds. Species asking questions they had never asked before. What did humans see that we did not see? How did you know the creature could be saved? Can you help us understand? 6 months after the rescue, a sanctuary was established on Earth's moon. It was called the Vethra Initiative, named after the planet where everything began. The facility was designed specifically for creatures like Baram, creatures that had been created for war, used until they broke, and then thrown away. Hannah became the sanctuary's first director. She moved into a small residence on the grounds and spent her days walking through the massive habitat domes, checking on the creatures in her care. But she always started and ended her days with Baram. The Rockle had changed in the months since the rescue. Its wounds had healed, leaving only faint scars on its armored hide. It moved more freely now, no longer tensing every time someone approached. It had learned to recognize the humans who worked at the sanctuary, greeting them with soft rumbles when they came near. But it was Hannah that Baram followed. Wherever she went, the creature was never far behind. If she sat down to read reports, Baram would settle nearby and watch. If she walked through the meadow domes, the creature walked beside her, matching its massive strides to her smaller ones. When she hummed, Baram hummed too. Taiho visited whenever he could. His actions on Vethra 9 had not resulted in a court-martial, as he had expected. Instead, he had been promoted and assigned to lead a new division focused on what the Coalition was calling recovery operations. His job was to find others like Baram, others who had been abandoned and left to die. He found Hannah in the main dome, sitting under a tree while Baram rested in the artificial sunlight nearby. The creature noticed Taiho's approach and made a greeting sound, a low, warm rumble that vibrated through the air. "It remembers you," Hannah said, smiling. "I remember it too." Taiho sat down beside her. "How is it doing?" "Better every day." The psychological evaluations show significant improvement. It is learning to trust, learning that not every interaction leads to pain. Hannah watched Baram stretch in the sunlight, looking almost peaceful. Yesterday, it played with one of the caretakers. Actually played, rolling around in the grass like a puppy. Taiho tried to picture it. A 12-meter war beast rolling in the grass. It should have been ridiculous. Instead, it made him smile. "The Coalition is sending more," Hannah continued. 3 more Rockle from abandoned outposts. A group of engineered predators from the Manthari conflicts. Something called a Void Serpent from the Outer Territories. She paused. "They are calling it the Human Protocol now. Apparently, we have become the galaxy's rehabilitation specialists," I heard. Taiho leaned back against the tree. "I also heard that some species are angry about it. They think we are judging them, making them look bad. Maybe we are." Hannah picked a blade of grass and twirled it between her fingers. "Or maybe we are just showing them something they forgot. That living things are not tools to be used and thrown away. That everything deserves a chance." A transmission came through on Taiho's personal device. He checked it, and his expression shifted. "Admiral Johan wants to speak with me," he said. Apparently, there is a situation in the Krek sector. Another abandoned bioweapon. They want to know if we can help. What are you going to tell him? Taiho stood up and looked at Baram. The creature had opened its 6 eyes and was watching him. Not with fear anymore. With something that looked almost like affection. I am going to tell him yes, Taiho said. That is what we do, right? We show up when no one else will. Hannah smiled. Be careful out there. Always. He walked away, already planning the next mission. Another creature to save. Another abandoned soul waiting in the darkness. Behind him, Baram made a sound. That deep, rumbling hum that had become so familiar. It was not a goodbye. It was something else. Something like thank you. Something like I understand. Hannah stood up and walked over to the creature. She pressed her hand against its massive head, feeling the warmth of its body beneath the armor. You know what you are now? She asked softly. You are proof. Proof that nothing is beyond saving. Proof that kindness is stronger than fear. Baram hummed again. Above them, through the transparent dome, the stars stretched out in every direction. A galaxy full of species who had learned to fight, to conquer, to destroy. A galaxy that measured strength in weapons and power in control. But somewhere in that vast darkness, other species were starting to ask questions. Starting to wonder if maybe there was another way. Maybe strength was not about how much you could destroy, but about what you were willing to save. Maybe the humans had been right all along. It started with 4 people who refused to let something die alone. 4 people who walked into fire because they believed that every life mattered. It seemed small at the time. Foolish even. An irrational act of compassion in a universe that rewarded cold logic. But small things have a way of growing. Word spread. Stories traveled. And slowly, so slowly that no one noticed it happening. The galaxy began to change. Not because humans were stronger. Not because humans were smarter. But because humans looked at a creature the whole galaxy had given up on and said, not today. Today, we fight for you. And sometimes that is enough. Sometimes that is everything.